Middle Way Philosophy, an Introduction by Robert M Ellis, founder and chair of the Middle Way Society. Many people perhaps recognise intuitively that the key to the values we need to develop in life is balance. Perhaps especially they recognise that as they mature. But what sort of balance are we talking about? The balance between what and what? What is it we're trying to avoid falling down into on either side? Perhaps we can think of ourselves as sailing down a narrow strait like this one, trying to avoid the rocks on either side. These rocks represent extremes, different kinds of extremes, opposing extremes. But those rocks can't just be conventional extremes, because one person's extreme is another person's moderation. It depends entirely where you're coming from. For some conservatives, for example, any liberalism is extreme, whilst for some liberals, any conservatism is regarded as extreme. No, in middle way philosophy, the extremes that we're trying to avoid are absolutes, positive absolutes or negative absolutes. Many people already have an understanding of the drawbacks of absolutism from the example of fundamentalism. Fundamentalism is dogmatic. It relies on an appeal to an absolute authority of some kind. It relies on very restricted sources of information that are taken absolutely and literally. It involves a dominant closed group. It's very much in power mode. It creates polarized views. And of course, it creates a great deal of conflict. But this is just an example. Not all absolutism is fundamentalist. Not all absolutism is even necessarily religious. For every positive absolute belief, there's an opposing negative absolute belief. And the negative absolute belief is just as dogmatic, just as damaging as the positive. It's not enough just to use power mode, just to use dogma, and to assert the opposite of the positive beliefs that you're objecting to. Instead, we need to return to ordinary human experience. Ordinary human experience with its fallibility, with its breadth, with its complexity, with its recognition of responsibility, with its embodiedness, with its openness to new experiences. Both positive and negative extremes tend to separate themselves from that experience and its complexity. They tend to cut out recognition of our embodied limitations. They tend to pretend in some way or another way that we are God, that we have a complete perspective. But none of us are God, whether or not we believe in God. Here are 5 of the key elements of middle way philosophy. Firstly, scepticism. Scepticism simply means the recognition that we can't know the truth, whether the truth is positive or negative. It doesn't mean an intellectual position. It doesn't mean a self-contradictory position in any way. It's just that recognition of our limitations, that we're not God. Secondly, provisionality, which follows from that scepticism. Provisionality is the practice of holding beliefs lightly. That means that we need to have alternatives available to us, that we can let go when we encounter new information. We're not holding on to those beliefs absolutely. Thirdly, incrementality. Incrementality means recognizing that we're justified to a matter of degree. Yes, we do need beliefs to live our lives, but we can't hold those beliefs absolutely, nor can we deny any beliefs absolutely. If we think about things as a matter of degree, which is a new way of thinking for many people, then we can be more adequate in our beliefs. Fourthly, agnosticism. Recognizing that we can't affirm or deny absolutes. That requires a practice of even-handedness, of trying to avoid either side. We may have a tendency one way or the other to affirm or deny absolutes in different areas, whether it's religion, politics, philosophy, art, whatever our particular areas of interest are. But agnosticism is about remaining even-handed and using experience as our guide in any of these areas where we may start to rely on absolutes. Final entity is integration. Integration is a positive goal which goes with the middle way. It provides us with a goal of critically reconciling different opposed desires, different opposed meanings, different opposed beliefs that we might encounter. We have to do that through a critical process, so not simply a superficial process of smoothing things over, of pretending that things that are opposed are somehow suddenly one. We need to try and face up to the conditions that lie behind conflict, and to do that we have to be critical as well as kind. Are these your values? Many people do intuitively relate to the middle way. The point of the middle way philosophy is to provide a philosophical and psychological framework for practice. It doesn't make any sense without practice. It has to bring together theory and practice. It isn't just common sense, although for many people it may coincide with common sense. But common sense often just means what's conventionally accepted, and the middle way may often challenge what's conventionally believed in a particular place or time. The middle way is not that easy to practice. It actually requires quite a lot of rigour, quite a lot of determination, quite a lot of mutual support between people who are trying to practice it. The middle way is genuinely universal because it's a principle of judgment. It doesn't involve just invoking a new absolute, a new set of metaphysical beliefs from God or from anywhere else. It's not a new religion in that sense. It's not a new revelation. But nevertheless, it taps in on the way in which we go about making judgments about things. It focuses on that point, which is universal because all humans face similar kinds of issues when they make judgments about the things they encounter. All humans can make similar mistakes. The middle way is not just science, although it's compatible very much with the best scientific practice. In many ways, like the best scientific practice, it tries to avoid dogma, it tries to relate to experience and evidence. Nor is it just Buddhism, although the term middle way is originally inspired by an insight of the Buddha. But middle way philosophy is not dependent on Buddhist tradition. It doesn't invoke the authority of that tradition at all, and it's entirely open to anybody from any tradition. The Middle Way Society aims to support both the understanding and the practice of the middle way as a universal principle of judgment. You can find out more about the middle way through the Middle Way Society, through the facilities that it offers, through its videos and books and retreats, for example. The Middle Way Society involves a critical exploration of the middle way. We're working together to try and find out the full implications of the middle way across traditions. You can come and contribute to that process of exploration and join in the practice of the middle way with others. You can join a community of practitioners of the middle way. For example, developing the practice of meditation, the practice of the arts, or the practice of critical thinking in relation to a middle way framework. To find out more about what we do in the Middle Way Society, please see our website www.themiddlewaysociety.org. You'll also find us on Facebook and on YouTube.